Joining us now here on the program is the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, a Republican of South Dakota. Mr. Leader, welcome back to the show. It's good to have you.
Thanks, Guy. Always good to be with you.
Well, we are now 3 days into the second month of the Democrats' government shutdown, and I've heard a few rumblings that there are discussions underway about a new CR because the continuing resolution, bipartisan, clean, that was passed already by the House and has been now filibustered, 14 times by your Democratic colleagues in the Senate. It's actually already coming up on a deadline. It was going to expire. It's been that long. This shutdown keeps dragging on. So what's next here? What can you tell us?
Well, I really hope, Guy, that this is the week that Democrats decide to end their shutdown, and they are owning it. I mean, I think people realize that it's pretty clear to most Americans, at least, that they have consistently now 14 times, as you pointed out, voted to block reopening the government. But I do think that the consequences are really starting to compound across the country. You've got now 40 million Americans whose food assistance is uncertain. You've got air travel delays that are skyrocketing. It's having an economic impact on the country, and I think that only gets worse with each passing day. So we need 5 more Democrats to stand up and do the right thing and reopen the government, and we'll see if this is the week. I'm based on at least some of the uptick in conversations and everything else, it feels like we might be getting there, but we're not there yet.
Would you have to pass a longer CR at this point because of how long this has dragged on? In fact, I think a couple days from now, this would become the longest government shutdown in federal history, right? I mean, this has been dragging out week after week now.
That's right, and and maybe that's part of their goal is to have the longest, be able to claim they had the longest shutdown in American history. But it continues to drag, and we are now, as you point out, we're going to have to extend the date because the November 21st date no longer makes any sense. It doesn't give us any time to do appropriations bills. So there's now conversations around pushing that into December, perhaps even January. And I think, if you look at the calendar and what it takes to get appropriations bills across the floor to fund the government, you clearly, have a need to have more time to be able to do that. So whatever we do now will carry a later date. The question is when.
Last week, you got uncharacteristically exercised in a floor speech. You and I have met many times. My impression of you has always been pretty low-key guy, pretty laconic. I know people who've worked with you for years were pretty astonished to see you raising your voice a bit in frustration. Here's just a little snippet of that, cut 19.
And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, there might be some consequences.
So clearly there's frustration there, and I share it because you see these Democrats, both elected and some of their media supporters and their activists, who are out there giving speeches or posting on social media about these horrible things, SNAP benefits or air traffic controllers. It's like, it's your shutdown. You can just open the government with a clean bipartisan spending bill that you guys have voted for 13 times already. Instead of filibustering that now 14 times, they are both trying to take credit for their shutdown with their base because they're fighting, while blaming the Republicans for the consequences of the shutdown that you guys have voted over and over again to end. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's a really interesting juxtaposition, guys, you point out, because they are blaming Trump at the same time they're taking credit. And almost in the same breath. But, the Republicans want our troops paid. We want the men and women of the Border Patrol to get paid. We want TSA agents, every federal employee to get their paychecks. And right now, the Democrats are the ones standing in the way of that. But they're trying to shift the blame and have it both ways. I mean, it really is. They're trying to pull this thing off where they blame somebody else, and yet they get credit with their political base. And that's what's driving this. I mean, they're so afraid. Schumer and their leaders are just absolutely running scared. They are scared spitless of what their base will do to them if they vote to open up the government, which is why in the end I don't think it's going to be their leaders that do this. I think it's going to be rank-and-file Democrats. And right now we just need 5 more to join us, and we can reopen the government. But yeah, I mean, it's to get up now and like they've been doing on the floor and throw these grenades and throw these bombs at the very point that they're actually voting to keep the government shut down is a level of hypocrisy, I guess you could say. And
that was crazy.
Yeah,
No,
the
it's
great.
Totally incoherent. Like, look at these horrible harms that we are inflicting. Okay, fine. Vote to open the government. No. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that's also very annoying, and I think some of this goes to media dynamics and maybe some muscle memory among voters who just instinctively assume the government skeptical party would be the one to shut down the government as opposed to the big government party. If you look at the polling, and some new polls came out yesterday, more Americans are still blaming you guys, Trump and the Republicans, for what is just cut and dried, obviously a Democratic filibuster-driven shutdown. It's the Democrats' shutdown, but a lot of voters aren't getting that message. How's that even possible?
Yeah, that's a really good question because you see the polling data, and I think part of it too. It's how you ask the question, it's methodology, it's the screen you use, the sample, et cetera, in polls, and some of these mainstream media polls I think probably have sample sets that are going to be more favorable to Democrats, I should say. But I do think part of it is there's the Dems have effectively since the very beginning tried to paint this and attack President Trump over it. Now, I will tell you that I think with our voters out there, our supporters, they believe in what we're doing. They don't think you ought to be given into extortion like what the Democrats are demanding here. But, those people in the middle, the independent voters, the ones who decide national elections, and for that matter, the midterm elections next year, they hopefully as this resonates more and more and the Democrats are out there consistently taking credit for keeping the government shut down, that they'll realize that it's not the Republicans but rather the Democrats who are the bad guys here. And I just think that's the we got to continue to get that message. We put bills on the floor. We'll vote again tomorrow for the 15th time or 14th time, I should say, to open up the government, and we'll see what the Democrats do. I mean, if there's a deal that comes together, I think it happens probably later in the week this week, but we'll find out tomorrow.
Senator, part of this is now muddied a bit because President Trump is renewing calls that he had initially made in his first term for the Senate Republicans then and now in the majority to end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster, and then with a simple majority reopen the government, which is an option that you guys have. It's this super nuclear option that you can consider. You have rejected that idea and warned against it for a number of reasons. I'm aligned with you on that, but I think, Trump is watching all this pain play out and throwing up his hands and saying, okay, if we have this lever where we can grab it, yank the lever, and get the government back open, let's just do it. And I get it. I'm somewhat sympathetic to it. I think medium, long term, it's a bad misstep, but there are plenty of Trump supporters and Republicans and conservatives listening to us right now saying, well, the Democrats have, many of them have campaigned on getting rid of the filibuster, so they're taking advantage of it now, but the first chance they get, they're going to blow it up themselves and wreak all sorts of havoc. So why not beat them to the punch if they're going to do it anyway? What's your response to that argument?
That's essentially the president's argument. But first off, at the end of the day, Guy, they're just simply not the votes to get rid of the Senate's 60-vote threshold. There are some hardcore institutionalists in the Senate. And right now, and I think if the president, weighs in heavily, I think he thinks he can change some votes, and probably he can. But there probably aren't right now, out of 53 Republican senators, I would say more than 10 to 12 who would vote to get rid of the filibuster, because they know that in the past it has protected us from a really lot of bad things. And, it was an important tool for us when we're in the minority. You only have to look back to last year. We blocked a whole host of terrible Democrat policies because of the 60-vote threshold. And if you look at all the damage that Biden and Harris did to our country, and I shudder to think how much worse it would have been without the legislative filibuster. And here's the thing. The Democrats, as you point out, although they're hypocrites because they would all vote to block it today, they would all vote when they have the majority in favor of it. But the truth is that if we were to do their dirty work for them, and that's what essentially it would be doing, then we would own all the crap they're going to do if and when they get the chance to do it.
And it would make it easier. It would make it easier for them to do it, because I think they might talk a big game, and a lot of their younger guys definitely want to blow up the filibuster. There might be some who would quietly say, not so fast, and having the Republicans do it for them, I think is a big mistake, even though it's tempting. We agree on that point, Senator. I know that we don't have very much time left, but next time we speak, I want to ask you about Obamacare and these spiking premiums and the bailouts that the Democrats are demanding, again, for Republicans to fix what Democrats have broken. What does that discussion look like in the Senate and beyond? Let's talk about that next time we have some time to chat. Senate Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Guy. Good to be with you.